Welcome to Just Minded My Business Media LLC, where you get information that you can use. I'm your host, Ida Crawford. But before we dive in, subscribe to Just Minded My Business on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Share Just Minded My Business with your family, friends, and colleagues. Engage with us by leaving a review or comment. Your support keeps this podcast going and growing. Visit our website at jmmbmediallc.com to learn how we can support you in getting more visibility on your products and services. So grab a pen and paper and get ready for information that you can use. I am so happy to bring to the Just Minded My Business platform Brian Will, who is the ultimate industry expert in sales and management consulting, as well as best-selling author of the Wall Street Journal and USA Today hit book, The Dropout Multimillionaire, and his newest release, No, The Psychology of Sales and Negotiations. With over 35 years of experience as a serial entrepreneur, Brian has a proven track record of success, having created 7 highly successful companies across 4 different industries with a combined worth of over $500 million at their peak. Today, Brian is a visionary business leader owning a growing chain of restaurants in the Atlanta area, an insurance and technology company in Denver, and a residential and commercial real estate business in Georgia and Florida. Wow, Brian, you have been more than busy.
I blame it on my ADHD, Ida. I can't just look at one thing at a time.
I understand. Wow. I am so honored to have you here. And we're going to jump right in and we're going to start with some lessons to keep in mind when you're starting a business.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually have an article that I wrote for Forbes called The 5 Keys to Success, which are also the same 5 keys to failure. And these are the things that every entrepreneur needs to look at hard when they're going into business, or even if they have one and it's not growing or making as much profit as they would like it to. And I'll do these quick for you. My first one is, why are you doing this? I think the why is so important because if you've been in business for any period of time, you know that challenges are going to happen, things are going to go wrong, and you're going to have tough days. And
Mhm.
if you aren't prepared for those tough days, if your why isn't strong enough, you will end up quitting and not moving toward the eventual success that you're trying to get to. So, why are you doing this is super important. From a business perspective, I always ask people, why should anybody buy your product? But more importantly, why should they buy it from you? Because if you're selling something that everybody else is selling, if it's air conditioning or electrical or architecture work why should they buy it from you? Because if there isn't a unique reason why people should buy from you, if they can get your product anywhere, then you will be stuck in what's called a commodity business. And your only source of growth will be to continue to lower your prices to beat the competition. And eventually you will lower your prices all the way out of business. So you
Mhm.
have to have a unique why people should buy from you. Number 3, I tell people this all the time. Who are you in your business? This is an important one. Too many people start a business because they are a specialist or a technician. In other words, I did plumbing for this company for 10 years. Now I'm going to start a plumbing company. Well, as I like to say, if Joe starts a plumbing company because he's been a plumber for 20 years and he now starts his own business, if Joe's plumbing fails, it won't be because Joe doesn't know how to be a plumber. It will be because Joe doesn't know how to run a business. And
Mhm.
those are 2 very distinct things. Too many people start a business because they're good at doing something, but they're not good at actually running the business end of the business. And so if you're not the business person, if you're the technician or the specialist, you need to bring in a good employee or a partner to help you run the actual business so that your business will thrive and grow. Number 4, and this is a big one, check your ego. If you are launching a business and you've never done this successfully, you need to understand that you don't know how to do it. You don't know what you're doing. And this is huge because too many entrepreneurs, we're hard drivers. We think we have answers. We think we know what we're doing. We go into business and we fight and we struggle and we make bad decisions and we eventually fail because we weren't willing to check our ego and find somebody out there who is 10 steps ahead of you who can come in and help you make decisions that will steer you clear of the pitfalls and drive you more towards the success. If you've never done it, then you don't know how. Find somebody to help you. And the last one, and this is huge, you need to know the numbers in your business. If you're launching a business or if you have an operating company, you need to know all the financials. You need to know how a profit and loss statement works. You need to know what your core metrics are. You need to know how to track patterns within the profit and loss statement so that you can figure out what's going right, what's going wrong, what are your profit and revenue drivers, and how are they affecting you so that you can correct any mistakes that are being made and you can grow your business into the future. So those are the 5 keys of success, same 5 keys to failure.
Wow. Wow. And that was one of my questions, but you answered quite a few of them in that moment. Yes, because the ego is a really big one. I
Yep, it's a killer.
Yes, you can't possibly think that you know everything. I mean,
Hmm.
nobody knows everything. A baby can teach you something.
Yeah. I'll give you a funny story, Ida. When I was writing my last book, I'd already written 2 books. They'd done really well. One was a Wall Street Journal bestseller. And I'm writing my 3rd book. And I remember I submitted the jacket cover, what I wanted it to look like, to the publisher. And they came back and they said, Brian, that jacket cover's terrible. It's not going to work. And I said, no, 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 you don't understand. I am a successful businessman. I have written 2 books. I know what I'm doing. And they said, Brian, your book cover sucks. We're not doing it. And we literally argued, Ida, for like 10 minutes. And then the thought dawned on me, the guy that tells people you don't know what you're doing, I'm sitting here talking to somebody who publishes books for a living. And I've done 2 myself. I've probably done 1,000. I finally went, you know what? I apologize. My ego's in the way. You tell me how to do what you do best, and I'll just sit back here and listen. How about we do that? And you can learn from anybody.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. This is some good gems, everybody. I hope you guys got your pens and paper and really taking some great notes because this is so important. So let me ask you a question. What is the difference between you and Elon Musk?
I love this question. So let me ask you a question, Ida. Have you ever met people that everything they do seems to work? Like if they start a business, it works. If they start doing whatever it is they're doing, it just seems to work. Okay. Have you ever met somebody who everything they do seems to fail and they just can't get going? They can't get it out of the starting blocks. Have you ever met anybody like that?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Do you know the difference between those 2 people? It's the same difference between me and you and Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates. The only difference between us is the way we think.
Mm,
It's not physical, it's not mental, it's not the way we look, it's not because Elon Musk is a really fit, super big, muscly guy. It's literally the way we think. The only difference between you and me and any billionaire on the planet is the way we think. They think at a much, much, much higher level than we do. And you and I think at a much, much higher level than somebody who's just graduating high school and doesn't have any experience in life.
mhm.
So the way you think is what is the difference between you and anybody else on the planet. And I tell people all the time, the difference between you today, where you are, and who you want to be in 5 years, the difference between you today and you 5 years from now will be the books that you read, the people you associate with, information that you put in your head, whether it's podcasts or seminars or whatever it is. Knowledge and experience is the only difference between where you are and where you want to go. You can do anything as long as you learn what it takes to get there. Too many people think they have all the answers today, and that's why they fail. They stop
Yes.
learning.
Or the flip side to that, they don't start until they have all the answers.
Oh,
And
that's another one. You're right.
and we all know you don't get the answers until you actually start the journey.
I teach this in my sales course. This is a funny side note. And I get salespeople that say, well, I need to learn everything there is before I talk to the customer. And just in case they have a question, I said, the customer doesn't need to know everything there is. That's just not necessary. And they're
Mm-hmm.
like, well, yeah, it is. And I said, let me ask you something. Ida, have you ever bought a car on a car lot before?
Mm-hmm.
You have. When you went onto the car lot and you met the salesperson, did he hand you the owner's manual of the car and say, please read this before we go take a test drive?
No, he did
No,
not.
you mean he didn't want you to know everything there is about that car?
No.
He didn't take you back to the finance department and explain how financing works before you drove the car? No.
Yeah.
People don't need to know everything right away. You can get started with what we call an MVP, minimum viable product, in any business that you're launching. What is the minimum that you can launch with to get your business started so that you can start the learning process of how to build a company and build your product? MVP, minimum viable product.
Yes. Wow. So your classes, how do people work with you? I'm just at awe here. This is so on time, Brian.
Typically, I work with organizations with revenues between $2 and $30 million. And personally, I have two training tracks that I do. One is financial, which is what we call historical profit and loss analysis, where we identify core metrics, we identify patterns, we predict what your company is going to do into the future. Then we do what's called reverse engineering, where we say, based on where you are today and how you got here, I can tell you where you're going to be in a year. If that's not where you want to be, then you need to tell me where you want to be. And if it's up here, right, if it's a higher level, then we need to reverse engineer our way back down to where you are today so we can set a plan in place. So that's track one. And track two is sales. And typically I work with sales organizations and going in and teaching sales organizations how to sell at the bottom, manage in the middle, and then understand how the economics work at the top. So it's finance and then sales are the two training tracks. And all this stuff's on my website. I do this for, all kinds of different industries.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the book. I was so amazed with the title, The Dropout Multimillionaire. I like that title. So can you give us a little snippet from that book?
Yeah, so I call myself an unconventionally educated person. In other words, I failed out of high school when I was 16. Not because I wasn't smart. And what I know today, I'm 58 years old. I have pretty hardcore ADHD. So I can't literally read a book unless I'm super interested. And if you can't read a book, you can't really study very well, and therefore you fail. And that's what I did. Now, I did manage to get back in and graduate high school, but ended up with a 1.2 GPA. So I was at a class of 80. I graduated 79 out of 80. I think the guy that graduated 80, I don't know what he did. And then I went to the military and I got off active duty and tried to go to college and I couldn't. It only lasted 2 semesters. And so I ended up dropping out of college and started my own business. So the title of the book, The Dropout Multimillionaire, it's the subtitle really. It's 37 lessons in how to succeed in business with no money, no education, and no clue, because that was me. I had no money, barely got out of high school, and I had no idea what I was doing when I started my business, but I did it anyway, and I learned. And so that's where that book came from.
Wow, that's amazing. I definitely want to pick that book up because it's so important. People think that you need all of this stuff. You just need that will
You need
to
tenacity.
want, yes, to want to do it,
Yeah.
and everything is not in a college.
Nope.
Everything is not in a high school. And I mean, right now, the high school's got a lot to be desired in terms of preparing young people for business with their finance, learning about their finances and things like
Hmm.
that. So I am, that's that book, ladies and gentlemen, pick that book up because if you're one of those people that think you need all this stuff to succeed, you just need that will.
You need to, I'll give you the secret here. Let me tell you a secret, Ida. Have you ever heard the phrase that you need to fail to succeed?
Hmm.
So I cringe when I hear that because it's not true. You're like, what? But here's the thing, Ida, failure, if all you ever do is fail, all you're ever going to do is fail. Remember that person you knew that every time they try to do something, it doesn't work? Failure is not what leads to success. It's learning from the failure that will make you successful. If you fail and don't learn, you will fail again. And if you fail again and don't learn, you will fail again. If you fail, you have to do a post failure analysis. What happened? What did I do wrong? Okay, let's never do that again. And then we start the next time. Now, depending on where you are in the life cycle of success, it took me 18 years of being in business for myself and failing and failing and failing until we finally figured it out and boom, we hit it. And I went from less than 100,000 a year to way over $1 million a year in income in 1 year and never went back because we failed so much and I learned so many things and I got burned by so many people and so many deals. Today, people say things to me and I go, oh, no, no, no. I'm just telling you, I've been there, done that. That's not going to work. This is what's going to happen. This is what that lawyer's trying to do to you. I have been through it all. But I also ask people, are you willing to struggle for 18 years to learn the lessons you need to learn to get everything you want in life? And I literally have an amazing life today. But it took me 18 years and most people want it microwave fast.
Yes.
And that's probably not going to happen.
Nope. Nope. I mean, every time I look at online and I see a get quick, ink.
Get rich quick. Yep.
Oh my God. Before I knew what I know today, I used to really think that was possible. But once I started a real business, I quickly learned, nope, you got to go through the day to day, failing forward, learning from mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
and it is not quick at all.
I will tell you, Ida, that I am a 20-year overnight success. Took me 20 years to get there. Then it hit. But everybody looks at your life and they go, wow, man, you must be so lucky. And I'm like, you weren't there when they repossessed my car. You weren't there when I was bouncing checks. You weren't there when I couldn't make payroll. You weren't there. All you see is today.
Yes. And that's what I like to hear from successful business owners, not just the glory, but we all know underneath that it was a struggle.
Yeah.
It
If
was,
you've never woke up on Friday morning hoping that a check is in the mailbox at noon so you can make payroll at 4, if you've never done that, then you haven't been in a small business. I'm just telling you.
oh, I know. I mean, I woke up and all my checking account was all red, and I was like,
Yep.
oh Lord.
I hope that check's in the mail. And then when it is, you're like, honey, we got the check. Let's go to the bank. Or, honey, the check didn't come. Let's go to the mountains and hide.
Absolutely. Or you scraping up, checking the piggy bank, trying to
Yep.
see where you have something to make that check
Hey, I
good.
pawn my wife's jewelry. I pawn things to make payroll more times than I care to count.
Been there with you. I know exactly what you're talking about. And
Yep.
it's good to hear those stories because those business owners out there that might be going through those things right now, just know you ain't the only one.
Yep.
And
Yep. Yep. Yep.
the glory would come. I think sometimes that it's like that struggle helps us to stay connected to our why, number one. And it's like if it was handed down to us, what would we learn?
It tempers you in such a way that when you are successful, you don't go blow it because you know how damn hard it was to get and you
Yes.
don't want to lose it.
Yes. You so right. You are so right. Wow. This has been awesome. So, building value in your business. What does that look like?
Building value in your business is all about, and this I actually have a whole master class coming out on this in the next couple of weeks. Building value in your business is about delegation. And I don't know if that's what you're thinking I was going to say, but delegation of the things that you personally do as a business owner is what's going to build value, not only in the value of your business, but will also buy your own personal life back. And I'll give you an example. I was just a judge on a competition TV show a couple of weeks ago. It's coming out next summer. And I was doing these one-on-one with different entrepreneurs that were on the show competing. And I was talking to one of these entrepreneurs, and he said, my business is doing well, but I'm burned out and I just don't know if I want to do this anymore. He says, I'm just killing myself. I said, well, how many hours a week are you working? He said, 60 to 70.
Mm.
I said, all right, I understand. That's entrepreneurs do this all the time. I said, but let me ask you a question. If I came to your office next week and I had my pad of paper and a pen and I started writing down everything that you do all day, every day, how much of that would be a $15 to $20 an hour job? How much of that is administrative, mindless tasks that aren't what you need to be doing, which is creating and overseeing and building and all that? I said, how many hours a week do you think you're doing that type of stuff? And he said, probably 40. And I said, you're spending 40 hours a week doing a $20 an hour job. I said, in other words, we could hire somebody for $40,000 a year and your work schedule would go from 60 to 70 hours down to 20. And he
Mm.
said, well, yeah. I said, do you realize for $40,000 you can buy your life back and you won't be burned out anymore? And he goes, I never thought about that. I said, can you afford the 40,000? He said, yeah. I'm like, well, then buy your life back. You have permission.
Yes. Yes. And that's so important because a lot of business owners, you know, it's just you in the beginning,
It is.
because you don't have the means to hire people. But
Hmm.
once you are at a place where you can, you want to hurry up and delegate that stuff, because I know how I feel with all the mundane stuff that I have to do sometimes. And trust and believe, I'm in the process right now of hiring somebody to take
Hmm.
all of that mundane
Minutia.
stuff
Yeah.
off my plate so
Yep.
I can have more freedom. And not only that, it can stunt your growth.
Do you know why people won't do it? Number one, they are afraid. They're afraid that whoever they hire won't do it as good as they do or as fast as they do. And so, because of that fear, they end up working themselves more and more and more and more until they can't do it anymore. It is that fear that that person won't do it that's keeping you from scaling your business. That's why they don't do it. It's just fear. They're living in fear.
Mm, and
You've got to get past the fear or you will never scale your company. It's impossible.
it is, and it's only 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
After that, you gotta sleep.
Yep. Yep.
And
You get,
it doesn't make sense after a certain point,
well,
especially if you can afford it.
the other issue they have, and this is the secondary reason people don't do it. And I fell into this trap in my first business. So I'm guilty, right? Let's say you start your business and you start out and you start making a little bit of money. You're making $20,000 a year, and that's great. Then you make $40,000 a year, and that's great. Then you make 60 and you go, oh, I'm making $60,000 working 40 hours. I think I'll buy a nicer car. And then
Mm.
you're making 80,000, but you're working 45 hours. Then you're working 55 hours and you're making 100, but you go out and you get a nicer house and you get some nice clothes and you start spending money on vacations. And then you're working 60 to 70 hours a week, making $150,000. But the problem is you have moved your lifestyle up exactly in line with your income. And now you don't have the opportunity to hire somebody to take over those mundane tasks because you need 100% of your income to fund your lifestyle.
Mm.
And that is a challenge. That's why I tell entrepreneurs, if you're going to start your business, live on the minimum amount you can. And as your income and profit grows, reinvest it in assets, people, to
Mm.
start taking over those tasks. And if you will just delay that lifestyle increase for a little while you develop other people to take over the management of all the mundane tasks, one day you'll go from 20 or 40,000 a year to 200,000 a year to 300 to 400, and you won't be the person in there working all the time. But you just got to delay it just a little bit. Don't increase your lifestyle when your business profit goes up until you've invested in good people.
Wow. And that makes so much sense, because then you pretty much trap yourself.
Yep.
You buy a house, you're talking about what, a 30-year commitment,
Hmm.
mortgage payment, a car nowadays, they like 6 to 7 year commitment.
Hmm.
And you still don't have no help.
Nope. I see it all the time. I did it when I was in my 20s. That was the reason my first business failed, because as my business grew, so did my lifestyle. And then when I had a blip in my business, we had a major hit in our business. I didn't have any money saved. I couldn't make my bills anymore, couldn't pay for my car payments and my house payment, all because of a blip in my business. And I hadn't secured myself or saved any money. I was living on every dime I made, and I ended up losing the whole company. Everything was gone. Lost the house, the cars, everything.
Mm,
I never made that mistake again.
you're right. That was a true lesson in that.
Yeah.
For sure. So my last question to you.
hmm
What does no mean for your business?
So this is another big one, right? And my last book is called No, but it's Psychology of Sales and Negotiation. But no, in this reference, there are times in business when you need to say no. Specifically, here's an easy one. If somebody, and I had a young lady who owns a stained glass company emailed me last night, and she said, Brian, I need some help. We charge X number of dollars for our stained glass work, but people keep coming into my store and saying, "Oh my gosh, I can't afford it. Can you lower your price? Can you lower your price?" And they always give me a sad story, and I always lower my price because I want to get the work, and I'm not making any money. I can't even quit my full-time job. I got to do this at night. And I said, "Let me ask you something. Is your talent worth what you're charging?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Then start telling people no. I'm not going to negotiate my price. I would rather you do 3 jobs at full price than 10 jobs at no profit, because all you're doing is working for free and you're not a nonprofit. You got to tell people no." That's number one. Number two, do not let too many people get a hold of your time, because time is really the most valuable thing we have in our life. All
Mhm.
we have is time. And when our time's up, it's up. Money is a renewable resource, time is not. Every day that goes by, we have less time. So sometimes you have to tell people no if they're trying to take your time to do things that are not important to you right now.
Absolutely. It's so funny we talking about this because I had somebody that wanted to advertise on my podcast. I gave them a price. Then they didn't even want to have a conversation. I wanted to
hmm
meet with them because I'm the type of person I need to see you. I that email doing business, it's okay once the deal is set to a
hmm
certain degree, but in the initial part, I want to see you. I want to talk to you. I want to see your
hmm
expressions and all that matters to me. And they didn't want to do that. It
hmm
was acting like they were too busy. So you know what? The last email they sent, I didn't even respond.
Just know.
Yeah, so I said it's better for me not to say anything than continue with them trying to haggle me down for my price when I know what I put into what I do and I'm
hmm
going to provide the best service to you that I can.
I'll tell you, have you ever heard of the winner's curse, Ida?
No,
The
I
winner's the winner's curse says this, and it talks about whether you're trying to buy something that's a negotiable price, or you're bidding on things, or whether you're either offering something for sale or you're trying to buy something. The winner's curse says that if you win the bid or if you get the job, it's because you were either willing to pay more than anybody else was willing to pay, or you were willing to lower your price farther than anybody else was willing to lower it. Did you really win?
hmm,
No. You either paid more or you sold it for less. Because if they could have got it anywhere else, they'd have done it someplace else. That's called the winner's curse.
okay. Well, I
Don't
just
negotiate your price.
no because it's just people either they're going to buy from you
hmm
or they're not. Simple as that. So I learned
Is
that.
your product worth it? Yes. Then don't negotiate your price.
Wow, Brian, this has been amazing. So again, how can people connect with you? How can they get your books and all that good stuff?
Yeah, just go to the website. It's brianwillmedia.com. BrianWill media.com. BrianWillmedia.com.
All righty now. We have got to do this again. I really enjoyed this immensely.
It
So
was fun.
thank you so much for taking time out of your day to chat with us. We appreciate you.
Ida, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It was fun.
Absolutely. It was absolutely fun. Thank you to our guests and you, our valued audience, for stopping by. We truly appreciate you. Many blessings to you and yours.